Over my many years as a gamer, I played a lot of RPGs. I played an RPG on almost every system available, from the Final Fantasy series to Valkyrie Profile, to Chrono Trigger to Dragon Warrior. Nowadays, there seems to be a lot more intellectual property springing up with the current generation of gaming consoles. Let's rewind time back to the early 2000s. Back then, and even during the late 1990s, the RPG genre was mostly governed by the big hitters, and there weren't very many independent or newer game franchises starting in that genre. During the early 2000s, I happened to own a Game Boy Advance. I remember not having that many games, but one of the few games I had along with F-Zero and Castlevania was a new RPG franchise started by Camelot Software, Golden Sun. Released in 2001, Golden Sun has gone on to become one of my most favorite RPGs of all time, right up there with Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy X. The game takes place in a world called Weyard, and is modeled after many fantasy settings. All matter in Weyard is composed of the four main elemental building blocks: earth, fire, wind, and water, modeled from the classical Greek elements named Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury respectively. In this world, there are beings known as adepts, who, through the power of a psychokinetic ability called synergy, are able to control one of the four elements. This is the whole building block of magic in this story. Thousands of years before Golden Sun takes place, alchemy existed, and was used by many. This fueled society, people became rich, etc. This also resulted in the downfall of civilization. Big surprise. This downfall almost resulted in the destruction of humankind, until a few wise old boys decided to seal away the secrets of alchemy in a temple called Sol Sanctum, which was built inside a mountain called Mount Aleph. A village called Vale was constructed at the base of the mountain, with the villagers aware of Sol Sanctum, but unaware of its true purpose. 3 years before the events of Golden Sun, a terrible storm struck Mount Aleph and dislodged a boulder. Although the adepts of Vale could slow its descent, it still crashed, killing several villagers. Here's where we meet two young adepts, Isaac and Garrett. They come upon this strange couple, who admit the storm was caused by them trying to break into Sol Sanctum and triggering a booby trap. The boys are attacked and the couple flees. There were many losses in Vale, including other adepts' families like Jenna and Felix, the other two main characters. Present day. Finally. And the four friends have studied synergy a lot. They get visited by this old dude, Creighton, who basically corrupts the kids and gets them to break into the Sol Sanctum with him for, quote, educational purposes. They run into the pair of weirdos from 3 years ago by accident, and it's revealed that their names are Sardaros and Minardi. There's no confrontation, and the group sneak deep inside Sol Sanctum. We learn that the couple are here to steal the Sanctum's secret, and the intrepid troop learns that the Sanctum houses the elemental star chamber, wherein lies the elemental stars. These are basically the purified essences of the four elements, and are the key to the Stone of Sages, which is like the Triforce. Same thing, different name. They're ambushed, and after Creighton has them collect 3 of the elemental stars, are forced to hand them over to Sardaros and Minardi. When they tried to remove the final star, the dormant volcano inside the mountain instantly begins to erupt, as the elemental stars were originally what kept the volcano dormant. With all hell breaking loose, the evil duo decide to get the hell out of there and leave the kids to their fate. They take Creighton and Jenna hostage and flee. Isaac and Garrett, in the meantime, come into contact with a powerful entity known as the Wise One. It explains that the elemental stars are used to light the elemental beacons atop lighthouses, the result being the release of alchemy onto Weyard. Oh shit. The entity gives Garrett the last elemental star, Mars, and warps them out of the mountain. It then stops the lava flow from destroying Vale again. The two return to Vale and explain all the shit that went down. They decide it's up to them to set out and stop Sardaros and Minardi from lighting the lighthouses. And we're off to the races. That's the prologue for the most part. As a side effect of all that nonsense, synergy stones were hurled all over the world. allowing many people to become adepts and wield synergy. A lot of the animals and wild creatures who came into contact with synergy stones were driven crazy and became hostile, becoming the enemies you face during random battles. This event also triggered the release of Jinn, magical little critters that you collect during the game, and give huge amounts of power and magic to your party members. More on that later. I suppose at this point I should talk about the battle system. There's nothing particularly revolutionary about it, other than the fact that it looks freaking amazing. Keep in mind, this game is for the Game Boy Advance. You know, little 2.5-inch screen. Specs in line with the Super Nintendo, more or less. It's your standard turn-based combat, with each side taking turns attacking, casting spells, using healing items, and whatnot. Some of the spells are single cast against an enemy, while other more powerful ones hit simultaneous targets at once. While you don't have access to synergy during encounters, you have the super badass powers of the Jinn at your disposal. What are the Jinn? What are Jinn? These little critters you find scattered all over Wayard. They hail from the same 4 base elements as many other items and creatures in the game. You can assign a Jinn to each of your characters, or give a single character multiple Jinn. The first few are freebies, but afterwards, you'll have to defeat them to gain their powers. Once you assign one to a character, the Jinn can be activated during combat. This incurs a twofold effect. The first effect is that the Jinn can be used to initiate an elemental-based attack, with varying effects, usually striking multiple targets. The second effect is usually a stat boost for the character who activated the Jinn, or in other cases, stat boosts for the entire party. Each Jinn has a cooldown period, where after their secondary boost is cast, they aren't able to be used as a direct attack for a few rounds. Later in the game, the Jinn becomes so powerful that when an attack is initiated, it automatically triggers a magical attack, without even physically striking the opponent, such as the Gaia Blade. How you use your Jinn is up to the player. Sometimes you have to use a specific Jinn for defensive boosts instead of a magical attack, or the like. You continue your journey coming across all kinds of nice country folk, ugly monsters, Tret the Killer Tree, and others. To be honest, in the game time between the 2 lighthouses, there isn't much in the way of major story development or game events. You pass through a bunch of random towns, talking to people, learning more about the central characters, and the mythology of the world. Let's talk about the graphics while we're at it. They're stunning. Apparently, Golden Sun had a very long production time, and it really shows that the team at Camelot really put a lot of effort and care into crafting the game. From character sprites, to backgrounds, spells, and even little details like water, plants, and other random items. It really adds to the overall enjoyment for me, because nothing really gets annoying over time. The music is also really well done, with each piece perfectly fitting the setting it's being written for. It brings the fantasy and adventure of Golden Sun to life. Again, no complaints here. Eventually you arrive at the next lighthouse, the Venus Lighthouse. The same shenanigans are up, and Sardonis throws the Venus star into the lighthouse, causing massive energy to be released. In a last-ditch effort to destroy the heroes, Sardonis and Minardi merge into a single giant 2-headed dragon. Shit just got real. The fight is challenging, but not over the top. Victorious, Isaac and his group leave the lighthouse and continue the search for Jenna, who went missing, but they are not successful. The group returns to La Livro and decide that some of their other friends who they thought were lost actually aren't, and should be rescued as well. They are given a ship and set off on the high seas to locate their friends and the remaining 2 lighthouses. And the game ends? Fuck! Yeah. This was one of the biggest kick in the balls I've ever witnessed in a video game. Basically, Golden Sun is only half a game. That's right. This really pissed me off after finishing the game for the first time. I kinda felt cheated. Basically, Camelot had designed a game that was so huge, it couldn't all fit into a single GBA cartridge. So they spread it out over 2. The sequel, or at least what I thought was the sequel, Golden Sun: The Lost Age, released 2 years later in 2003, is actually the second half of the game. Even now, nearly 15 years after the original release, I technically have yet to finish the game, as I've never played Lost Age. Yet. Overall, Golden Sun is a fantastic game, and a wonderful RPG to boot. There's so many elements to the game that seem familiar, but are also different at the same time. It's a shame that the series has never really gained a large following, a la Final Fantasy, because it's really a good story if you've never played any of them. There was also a third release in the series, Golden Sun: Dark Dawn, which released on the Nintendo DS in 2010, and while I started playing that one, I haven't given it much time lately. Although it has been just as fun as the original so far. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, go check it out.